Welcome to the Rocker Skating Podcast. It is a starry episode. I had to do that, of course. Piper, Gilles, Paul Poirier are here with me. And we're, in the middle of, really smack dab between the Olympics and Worlds. And so catching you all maybe a week and a half before you leave. Actually, no, probably like a week before you leave.
Yeah.
How are you all doing?
We're good. We're good. I think we're excited that, we only have a week left before the World Championships. I think we're eager to do it and kind of celebrate one more time. And yeah, I think our bodies are ready.
Yeah. I don't think my body is ready quite yet. Paul, what have you been up to over the past few weeks, but after that amazing Olympics?
Well, today I'm doing my taxes, so this is a nice little procrastinatory tool, which I'm really happy about. It's been good.
Speaking of which, I need to do my taxes too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the hard thing is we go straight from Worlds to Stars on Ice Japan and then straight to Stars on Ice Canada. So kind of now is the last time we're home for a good chunk of time. So there's just and then we were gone for 3 weeks during the Olympics. So there's this very short window to get a lot of administrative things done. But yeah, I've just been trying amidst all the training and, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves because obviously there's a big crash after the Olympics. Just slowly trying to see my friends and family and celebrate with them. There's lots of people that of course weren't there in Milan. So just trying to do as much as we can with our people while we're home.
I know. I think I saw a medal party for you the other day. Was that a thing?
Some friends threw a little dinner, which was really nice, and they made a cake with the Olympic rings, which was really cute. I wasn't expecting it. And then we realized, we only have one song for celebration, so they said they started singing "Happy Olympics" to you because when they brought the cake out, because it just seemed weird to just bring a cake out without a song, which is really funny.
Wow. Okay. Happy Olympics to you is something that not many people can say they have been sung to them. Piper, what about you? How are your last couple of weeks?
They've been good. They've been kind of busy just doing little media stuff here and there. But yeah, I've just been nothing too crazy other than battling the sickness that I feel like a lot of people got after the Olympic Games. So yeah, my voice is finally returning and I don't know, life is slowly returning back to normal, which is kind of nice. It's been really nice to be home and kind of celebrate with our coaches and our teammates and all of that. Like Paul said, just catching up with people we haven't seen in a few months. We've been kind of hibernating, so I guess it'll be nice to, especially after Worlds and when Stars are done too, to fully decompress, have a giant celebration with everybody. I think we're really looking forward to that.
Look, I mean, at least it's not the norovirus that apparently was going around at the village.
Thank goodness.
Which seems to be which seems to be in every Olympics is norovirus breakout because.
I mean, there's a lot of people in close quarters after traveling. It kind of makes sense,
right?
In a way. I think we were even leading up to the Olympics, we didn't get sick all season, and until after. But I think there is some luck involved with that. But I think it does speak to the care we put into babying ourselves before the games.
Right. Yeah, it's the number of people I've seen at the competitions leading up to the Olympics where they're sort of staying away from people or even masking up, remembrances of the COVID days. And it's it doesn't faze anybody anymore because we did that for a couple of years.
No, I think we learned our lesson a little bit on trying to avoid the plague in some way.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, tell me about the decision to Worlds because I think a lot of folks, myself included, and Paul, you and I had coffee literally after your free dance, and I was like, "Are they going to Worlds? Are they not?" And I never did ask you, and then I realized,
nothing.
oh, you are. Yeah, you didn't say that, and you didn't have any hints of it whatsoever. So I was like, oh, okay. But was that always in the plans, or did you make the decision after the Olympics to do one more competition?
I think we didn't want to go into the Olympics with a specific thought in mind, this is the last skate of these programs for the season. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on the programs. There's already a lot of pressure at the Olympics. So I think it was something that we left quite open-ended going into the season. And we just said, let's just kind of proceed as if the season is running as normal and we'll do Worlds, and if we feel differently when we get to the other side of the Olympics, then we can, have that conversation and reassess. But, we felt like the games were such a high pressure environment, and as much as we ended up performing feeling fairly calm, there's still, a lot of weight that goes into that event, and I think we wanted another opportunity this season to just celebrate our skating a little bit more, and the stakes feel it sounds funny to say, but the stakes feel a little bit lower, even though it's Worlds. And we'll have both of our coaches there with us, so I think it'll be nice to share this event with, like, having both of them there, which is not something we get to do very often.
Well, I mean, this is your third post-Olympic Worlds, so the sort of dial down and dial back up that needs to happen. Was there anything when you were discussing after your Olympics performances, and we will talk about your Olympic performances, when you were discussing that, was there any kind of like "Oh, we really need to do this," or was it like "Hey, let's keep going," or was there ever like a thought about not going?
I mean, I think when we got back from the Olympics, I think we kind of floated both options. I think we were both very content with our Olympic performance, and we were very content to like just leave it there. But also, like Paul said, the Olympics is such a stressful event that you weren't really thinking of anything else other than that. So I think for us to continue the season as normal and kind of celebrate what we accomplished at the Olympic Games one more time, I think ultimately ended up trumping that decision to go and, I don't know, not leave everything on the Olympic ice.
Mhm.
But we did float it, that's for sure. I think it was a kind of a tough decision because we really weren't sure, like, were our bodies rested enough? Or do we feel motivated enough to do this one more time? Because again, like we know the sacrifice that it takes to compete on the world stage. So for us, I think ultimately we're like, well, we only have a couple more weeks till we go to Japan. We're gonna have to be skating anyways. Why not treat this as like almost a world team trophy kind of event and really just celebrate our skating? We usually do skate well at those events because of the not the pressure, but just like we're happy to be there, we're enjoying the process, so I think that's kind of what led us to kinda make that decision for the World Championships, just like,
It's
"Why not?"
It's funny because you're not the first ones to tell me, like, especially those who've gone to World Team Trophy, that this sort of feels a little World
Yeah.
Team Trophy-ish. Um, it is a few weeks later. It is like something where
Yeah.
you had the really, really big pressure cooker of that Olympics. And I mean, hopefully we all have a good time there.
We
We
will.
know what post-Olympics worlds can be like.
Yeah.
Um, So this season, a lot of people got a chance to know you two better because you were all over Netflix. I had coworkers, friends, people I haven't talked to in years be like, "Have you watched Glitter and Gold? And do you know Piper and Paul?" And I'm like, no, but yes, I do. I do know them.
Yeah.
I actually did finally just watch it
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago. Um, what was that like having that spotlight on you for the Olympics? And really, I mean, it wasn't like a normal documentary, right? It was like hey, we're Netflix and we're coming to like craft this
Ugh.
story around these three teams. What
Mhm.
was that like?
I think it was actually quite an interesting experience. I don't think Um, we were ever at that point where like, "Oh my god, these guys cannot come today. I can't stand the film crew," like, they were totally opposite of what we expected. I think we were a little hesitant, when they approached this idea because 'cause we're like, "What is this gonna look like?" And the moment when we started filming at the World Championships in Boston, we met the team and we were like, "Okay, like, these guys know what they're doing."
Hmm.
It's like basically a women-run group, they were never overbearing. They were like, "Are you okay with this?" Like, "If there's something you said, we won't use it." Like, they were super respectful, and I think they really wanted to tell our story to the best of their abilities and to really have everybody understand who we were. And I think we felt that, and I think for us, yeah, it does come with a little bit of a price of having that pressure, especially going into the Olympic Games. Like the day we were leaving, like they were releasing it, and I remember I was more anxious for that, for like seeing people like a little bit into our personal lives than competing at the Olympic Games, which is so bizarre. But I remember like being like, do I watch it just so I know? No, I'm not gonna watch it. Or I
Mhm.
the whole time before we were leaving, and then people were like, "I've watched it. It's good. It's good. You're great. Paul and you like come across so well." And okay, I go to the Olympics. I don't need to watch this. I'm gonna be fine. But like, how strange is that? We compete in front of thousands of people, but like,
Right.
that's millions of people seeing your
Mhm.
lives. I don't know. It was a very unique, I think, experience, and I think what a great opportunity for the next generation of athletes to kind of be like, you're exposed to a broader audience.
No, I felt the same way. I think the 2 hardest bits, with the whole thing was going into the project, especially because we started filming at Worlds, and that was,
Mhm,
at such a kind of high stakes
Yeah.
event too. That was our first time meeting the team, and we didn't know what the process would be like or how the energy would be or, you know,
mhm,
after Worlds, when we went into the Grand Prix season and we kind of knew what our process looked like, and at that point, the crew was almost like family 'cause they had come so many times to the rink to film us. We felt really comfortable. And then
mhm.
as Piper said, with the documentary releasing the day we were flying out to the game, I just kind of put my like social media blinders on, and I just said I'm gonna look as little as possible at things until I'm done competing, which I'm grateful for. And I even had like a social media strategy with my sports site going into the Olympics on how to deal with one with the documentary releasing, but just generally with kind of the added social media attention around the Olympics. I think that was like one important part of the kind of Olympics recipe, but I think we felt so respected by the entire team, and they just took such great care with our story. And we just, as I said, they really became family over the course of the season.
Have either or both of you watched it by now?
I've
So
not.
yeah,
Sorry,
I
Katie.
s yes, I watched the 1st and 2nd episode, but I only watched Paul and our parts just because I kinda wanted to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And then I've heard so many people say episode 3 is the best episode. I can't watch it. I don't know what it is. I loved what they were doing. I lived it. We lived it,
Right.
and I don't know if I need to go back and watch my story or our story be told again. But I think we're so grateful that, people had the opportunity to kind of see a little bit of like who Paul and I are and what we represent as people. But no, not maybe one day I'll be like, I'll just watch the 3rd episode. But and I know a lot of it has, like, the Grand Prix final in it, and I think it just brings up so much
Yeah.
stuff that I'm like, "I lived it, let's move on, like, keep going forward." So, yeah, I don't know.
The feedback I've gotten from people have been like, they just seem like such cool, down to earth people. And that's been resonating across the
Oh,
different populations of people that I have talked to.
no.
Yay,
Uh,
good.
yeah. But the Olympics, right? You all got to again be in the team event and
Hmm.
then do the your individual event very close together.
Hmm.
And that was different than what you had experienced before, I think,
Mhm,
Yeah,
back in Beijing.
mhm,
Was there ever, this was a question that a lot of people were
yeah.
curious about. Was there ever a thought of you all being in medal contention at the team event for you, the two of you, to actually do the free dance?
It was, yeah, it was a long discussion. I actually think in terms of getting ready for the Olympics, it was one of the hardest parts of the preparation because it's
mhm,
not, it wasn't a similar schedule to anything we've done before, and it's not really anything that you can recreate. You're never gonna be doing 2 full competitions that even if you do 2 events kind of weekends back to back, there's still, more time in between, and you can run as many programs as you want at home. It doesn't simulate the experience of competing at the Olympics.
mhm,
So we had to think about it a lot on what we wanted to do. And I think there were so many scenarios that were possible. And, we had to make a decision with incomplete information because we didn't know
Hmm.
how anyone else was going to skate necessarily. I think in the end, um, we felt we wanted to prioritize our energy, going into the individual event, really take care of ourselves. It was a really tiring few days, and we felt actually quite tired after the rhythm dance and the team event. So I think we were grateful for the day off that we had in the end planned for ourselves. And I think too, we wanted to have Marjorie and Zach have the opportunity to skate in the team event because these things could go different ways where Canada was in contention, and maybe if we had done the free, it might have made the difference to get a medal or not. And there's another scenario where everyone skates really great and Canada gets a medal, and another team or another skater could have had the opportunity to also be on that team and get a medal. And so there was no perfect decision, no perfect scenario, and we had to make the best decision for ourselves along with our coaches and Skate Canada, with the information that we had, which was incomplete.
It was a tough decision though. I think the two of us, I was like, we waited really till the last minute and like it was funny because like, I think there was, like, a little bit of guilt that, like, if we had lost, if we didn't do the free, and if we were in that, like, if we were a point away,
Hmm.
how like, kind of a shame that would have been to lose a medal for our teammates and this and that, but, we were encouraged again by Skate Canada to do the best decision for us, and that was kind of what we had just had to kind of remind ourselves. It's like, at the end of the day, you gotta do what's best for you, and that's what we did, and I it was a tough decision. It was really, again, more stressful than competing, making that decision. Paul and I were just like, "Oh my gosh, what do we do? What do we do?" But, I think we made the right call for us, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're so grateful that Marjorie and Zach had another opportunity to be able to do the free dance and just kinda gain experience.
Yeah, and ultimately you can't predict the future, right? And so you have to make the decision with the information that you have.
Mhm.
But then the individual event came, and for me, two of your best skates maybe ever. It's definitely the free dance. It was I those who have followed me on Twitter will know that I was probably crying within a minute and a half into that program. I think as soon as the Twizzles were coming on, I literally had like media journalist people like come up to me afterwards and be like, "You were really going through it, weren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it was one of those things where like I think the audience felt it. Everybody, like whether they were in figure skating or not, felt a kind of different energy from you in that free dance. If you take us back to that program, what was it about that program that made it so special for both everybody who's watched it, right, and for the two of you?
It's so interesting. It's like with Vincent, he was a starving artist, he was just trying to succeed. And I think for us, like we connected to that and like that we've been through it over the years. Like we've pushed and tried to like push the sport in a different direction and maybe they weren't ready for it. And I think in that moment we were ready for it. Like we were ready for people to accept us for who we were and we felt it. And I think, like, we just kinda let the program come to us, and we didn't we didn't force it. Like, we just went out and did a program like we did at home, and that's exactly what we said to ourselves backstage, like, "Let's just run a program like we do at home, and almost let, like, the universe accept who we were." And I think, like, just as the momentum of the program started, I think people could just almost feel the relief of that we're doing it, because I feel like they wanted it for us, like, that
Mhm,
relief just started to lift, and we just started to skate with that abandonment, and by the time we ended, it was like I think everybody knew, like, we knew, they knew that, like, we did it, and I think I don't know, those are, like, one of those moments that you're gonna remember, and I hope people remember because they felt like they were a part of that release of, I guess, art and struggle and believing in yourself, like, that it's possible. I think that's, like, for me, what stands out in a moment like that.
yeah, you talk about freedom, right? And I think one of the things that I remember so much about that program, and I talked about this a bit, is the two of you tend to be there are times when you're a little bit more intellectual, a little bit more insular, and sort of when you're doing programs, you're telling each other the story, and you're letting people see you tell each other the story. But there was something about that program where it felt like you were really telling the story, like talking to the audience, right? And I don't know if you felt that or not while you were on the ice, but you fed off the energy of that crowd, and it became more and more free. I don't think I've ever watched a free dance where I'm like, yeah, everything's gonna go fine. Like, I just believed that it was
Yeah.
gonna be a great program without any sort of like I wasn't, like, on the edge of my seat waiting to see what would happen, right? I was just, like, enjoying it. What how was that feeling? Was that the case for you all?
Yeah, it was the case, but it is funny, our coaches always say to us, when things are going really well, that's the time to pay the most attention. It's very
Mhm.
easy to get excited when things are going well. And in that excitement, just kind of lose your focus for a moment, and that becomes something. Um,
Mhm.
but I think we felt, as I said, I felt like things were going to go well, but in a calm kind of way, not in a way where I was already looking forward to the end when things had already gone well. I don't know how to explain it better than that.
Yeah.
So I think there was really a powerful kind of a presence to it all.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really felt actually just the entirety of the games. The crowds were really amazing, and I think, I think that also allowed us to, as you said, to tell them that story a little bit more, because I felt like the audience in Milan was just so receptive to all the skaters in accepting what they had
Mhm.
to offer, um, and in encouraging them and those kinds of things. And I felt during the entirety of the games, what I really appreciated about the audience was, when people would make mistakes, they would really get behind them, and like, kind of give them energy to keep going. And, so I think that that definitely fed us as well.
Mhm.
This season has been a roller coaster in a lot of ways, especially on the front of technical panels, calls, like those types of things. You got a pattern step 4 at the Olympics, which
Yay.
is nice. But now that we're here and you have the privilege of having the like being able to look back on the season, how would you think about the Grand Prix and how that all sort of shook out in terms of, some of the weirdness, if you will, that happened with a lot of the scoring, especially in that like first half of the Grand Prix.
Well, I think it was challenging in a lot of ways. We knew that trying to get on the Olympic podium would be a very difficult task. I think, every athlete knows that, even when you're in sort of a contender position like we were. So, we definitely didn't take anything for granted this season. I think in a lot of ways, um, we as athletes, we have to skate our best, and we don't necessarily have control over the scoring. And when we're disappointed with the results, we can either, um, dig ourselves into a hole, or we can look at it as an opportunity. And we had to keep choosing, each kind of looking at each setback as another opportunity to get better. I think in a lot of ways, as much as, certain parts were hard, and definitely we were very disappointed after the Grand Prix final, I think it did really force us to be critical of ourselves and critical about what we could still do better before we got to the Olympics. And I think that really guided our training, between the Grand Prix final and nationals. So I think in a way it was tough psychologically and emotionally, but I think, as I said, it gave us the direction we needed to improve ourselves before the Olympics and make sure that everything was as good as it needed to be. I mean, even in the rhythm dance and the team event, our levels were not as good as they could have been. And, we agreed with that. It definitely wasn't our best skate and our best performance. And there were a few places where we were tight, especially in the steps. And that was a good wake up call. That was, it kind of really forced us to sharpen ourselves on those few days of practice, in between the team event and the individual event. So, we can always improve, we can always be better. And we always just have to treat whatever feedback we get as an opportunity to do that.
So you've been skating for a long time now.
Don't remind us.
I know. Both of you were active in the junior events in the
Mhm.
mid 2000s, right? Like you've really grown up in the IJS and
Mhm.
how skating has changed over the past 20 years. I know this is a big question, but like if you were to look back at the past 20 years of things that you've done as ice dancers um, that you loved or didn't like what would you bring back? What would you change? What would you think about as something that you're like, yeah, we're definitely missing this stuff in ice dance?
I mean, I think for me, and I think I speak for Paul as well, the importance of compulsory dances. I think, as much as maybe the audience didn't enjoy it, and maybe that's something that they can just see as like a qualifying event, But that is what really built amazing skaters. It built an understanding of tracking. It built like I guess the importance of leg line and the understanding of how tight and close people can skate together. I think a lot of the times you see, like over the years, ice dance has gotten farther and farther away from each other. And what I think people really recognize that Paul and I do so well is how tight we skate. And because we skate so tight, it's really hard. It's harder than being side by side. And I think it's quite fun when we watch some of our teammates trying to do the golden. But it's things like that. Like Paul and I we're like, wow, like I'm so grateful that I cried by doing 3 turns on a circle, doing a European, like, stuff like that, I'm so grateful for everything that Paul and I have learned and gone through with compulsory dances to, like, make the skaters that we are today because we have such an understanding of where our bodies need to be relative to each other, and I think that's missing, so personally, I think it's, like, kind of incorporating a little bit more of the individual skating between 2 people, and that's for me is compulsory dances.
Literally, the discussion in the next season is going to be, what do you mean 3 turns are hard?
They're so hard, like, tucking your butt underneath and you're, like, at a diagonal line in a hole is the most uncomfortable thing anybody can imagine, but it looks so good, so let's bring it back.
I think a lot of the same. I think that kind of just compulsory dances, skating and hold, good tracking, those kinds of things, I think aren't being rewarded necessarily right now. Um, I think
Yeah,
the
it's literally not in the system, right? Like you don't
no,
see that. You see that maybe in like a feature or a bullet for a GOE or whatever, right? But it's just so hidden in there.
yeah, and I mean
Mhm,
it's hard to quantify, and I think that's part of the challenge. I think generally where the IJS struggles, and this is something that we all as a community have to face all the time is um because each element and each thing is kind of scored individually. um everything you do needs to be big, everything you do needs to be fast, everything you do needs to be impressive. So those are important bullets in order to get the GUE. So your twizzles need to be fast and your lifts need to be big and fast and cover a lot of ice, and like all your elements need to do that. And so it asks the skaters to skate in one way the entire time, which is really big and really fast. And um,
mhm.
I don't know necessarily how to kind of, as I said, reward the complexity and the holds and those kind of more subtle things,
Hmm.
um, because they're tougher to isolate, in a way that something like big and impressive looks big and impressive. Um, so I think that's a challenge. But I think it's, we grew up during that transition where, we kind of started IJS when we were in junior. And so, our foundation of skating is different. Um, and we've seen the sport kind of evolve and change, over the last, 20 years or so that we've had IJS around. And, I think a lot of that change has been positive, but, some of it has picked at some of the things that we see as foundational to our sport. And there's a
Mhm.
balance to strike, and I don't necessarily know where it is, but I think that's the thing that we both miss the most.
I think it's like an educational thing. I think like Paul and I, we watch skating like way, way back. Like YouTube is a huge tool for any young child wanting to learn what the history of ice dance is. I think and in the athletes, like we do so much research to try to create something new and interesting and whatever. But I also feel like the judges and the ISU should also be able to kind of do the research of what made skating great and kind of compare where ice dance is today. And I don't know if it's educating the new generation of judges that are coming in and saying, this is the type of stuff that should be rewarded. This is the type of stuff where we're at. How can we combine the two and create both? Because both create value, but I think both sides have to do enough education to be able to figure out what's going to be the best thing moving forward. And I think, yeah, we should all both be accountable athletes and, ISU and the judges and tech panel, what should be next.
It's an evolving thing, and we never really know where the balance really
Mhm.
is. So I'm sure there's been a lot of conversations over the past 4 years, and I'm sure it'll swing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
I mean, I think that's the challenge is, we're trying to quantify a lot of things that are you can't quantify. and and we don't want to dictate and define everything because then everyone will look the same. But if everything is vague, then we have no goals and we have no guidelines, and it's a such a tough balance to strike.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Well, there's plenty for you to do. Paul, you got taxes to finish. Piper, you need to get some more rest and
Yeah,
recover.
yeah.
We were talking about Worlds and thereafter, which is lots of stuff. What is happening after Worlds for you all?
Well, I think right away, Paul and I are jumping on tour with Stars on Ice Japan, so we're heading right from basically the banquet, the next morning straight to Japan, starting rehearsals in Osaka.
I'm surprised they don't
And
have just like a charter flight for all of you to
yeah,
just go
yeah,
over there, because like
here
there's
you
so
go.
many of you heading over there.
Yeah, and then we come home and then we do the same thing with Stars on Ice Canada, and then I don't really know what's next. I think for us, like a well-deserved break just to recover the body and the mind. But I think Paul and I are excited to see what's next for us. Like, we're excited to say yes to a lot of different opportunities, but, we aren't sure what the next opportunities are yet. But I don't know. We're yes kind of people. Like, we don't usually say no often. So throw whatever you have at us.
We say yes to everything, sometimes to a detriment.
Yeah,
Well,
very
I'm
much
glad you
so.
said yes to this interview. It's great.
No
Um,
problem.
any hints as to any new exhibition programs that you're working on?
We're working on them.
We're working on them.
That's it.
Um,
That's as much of a hint as I'm gonna get.
I think we're just like exploring what like interesting movement that Paul and I are, interested in in the moment. I think that's what kind of has fueled us over the years is that whatever inspires us, we're just gonna go for it and, hope people enjoy, the movement and the ideas that we're trying to portray.
Is there a chance we'll see new stuff in the exhibition gala at Worlds? Or are you saving it for Stars on Ice?
Yeah,
Meh.
last year we debuted the new exhibition at Worlds,
Yep.
with not a lot of practice. So I think we'll, everything's kind of coming together, but it's a matter of being comfortable. The gala's
Yeah.
already quite hard the day after you finish competing, and we won't have practiced it for the whole week with the new number. So we'll see how it goes.
Ask us Friday.
I will ask you again when we're in Prague. All right. Well, Piper, Gilles, Paul Poirier, thank you so much for joining me today. Excited to see you in a week's time, really.
Yay!
And happy preparation in the last week before Worlds.
Thanks,
Thank
Jackie.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.